Hi, it's Penny here, and we are on the floor again with my TBR card so that we can pick my November TBR. So I have very few books left. You can't quite see it. Very few books left that I can pick from. So I'm nearly there. Not quite sure if it's actually possible by the end of the year, but I'm gonna be super close. So, as usual, I'm going to be using my TBR Machine website that spits out random reading prompts to pick 4 books off this TBR card. And I have been really lucky the last couple of times where I have been able to select books from the TBR card for every prompt. I feel like my luck is running out. So I've decided the rules for these last few times of picking off my TBR card is going to be that if I don't have a book that matches the prompt, then I will pick an audiobook instead. In November, I'm hoping to do nonfiction November, and I'm going to post a separate TBR for that. But most of the nonfiction books I'm going to read are going to be audiobooks. So ideally, I would like to not have many audiobooks on my main TBR, my fiction TBR, I guess you could say. So hopefully we can fit most of the prompts against these books. I do have a few fiction audiobooks that I would like to read, so maybe if I can't pick TBR card ones, I could still pick off that list. I guess we'll see, but anyway, we're going to pick 4 prompts off the TBR machine. So let's start with the first prompt. Read a book that has been adapted into a movie or a TV show. There's one on here. So we've got Mortal Engines by Philip Reeve. This was on my September TBR, I think, but I didn't get to it. So, perfect. Fits the prompt. So this was made into a movie by Peter Jackson. I have seen the movie, but I've kind of forgotten it a little bit. Unfortunately, I was a bit disappointed in it. It's in this world where these cities are all like giant cities, but they're movable. They're on like giant wheels and they go around this like apocalyptic landscape. And there's this one girl, I don't really remember what she's doing anymore. According to the back, it says there's a boy who gets kicked off this traveling movable London, and has to survive in the wastelands. That doesn't really line up with what I remember of the movie at all, so I guess we'll see when I read that book. So that's our first pick. Let's put it up here. Like, I don't know, that's a mess. Let's pick our second prompt. Read a book that you think you will rate 5 stars. I mean, I could lie about this one really easily. But I don't think I'm going to. The books that are left on my TBR card are the ones, I guess, that in general I was less excited about than some of the other books that were on here earlier. Also, I am really stingy with giving out 5-star ratings, so I don't know if I can ever predict it. Do you know? I do have some library books on hold that I will almost definitely give 5 stars, but because we're in lockdown at the moment, I don't know when the libraries are going to reopen, so I don't know when I'm going to get those library books. Let me see what audiobooks I've got. Okay, I've found one. What I think I'm going to do is get the audiobook of Dragonhaven by Robin Hobb. This is the second book in the Rainwild Chronicles, and also like the 3, 6, 10, maybe the 11th book in the Realm of the Elderlings. I've given a lot of the Realm of the Elderlings books 5 stars. It's a series I really love. I was kind of having a tantrum because the audiobook narrator of the second book in this quartet, I think it's a quartet, the narrator is a different one from the first book's narrator, and I didn't like their narration style. But honestly, I'm also having a tantrum about not having the time to continue that series, so maybe I will just try and get used to the narration style. Of all the books that I have access to, I think that's the most guaranteed 5-star that we could have. So we'll go with that. Alright, let's pick another prompt. I've still got to pick 3 more because I've got to pick 4 books off this in total. Read a book with orange on the cover. Okay, so I think we will go with Skullduggery Pleasant. I don't really know much about this. I think it's like a YA middle grade kind of supernatural mystery. I think one of the main characters is a skeleton. I picked up the first 3 books in this series at a book fair a few months ago, mainly because the second and third books had sprayed edges and I couldn't resist. The first one doesn't have sprayed edges, unfortunately. Actually, the whole 7 books in the series, I think it's 7 books, was at the book fair, but I don't even know if I'll like this series yet, so I wasn't willing to commit to that many books, even though they were only $2 each. But anyway, that will be my second book off my TBR cart. Wow, that's some quality stacking there, Penny. Alright, let's pick the next prompt. Read a book with an ugly cover. Of course, this is totally subjective, but what I'm going to go with is Catalyst by S.J. Kincaid. This is the third book in the... I forget what the series is called. The Insignia series, I think. Basically, we've got this young boy who is at this military academy because basically in this world there is a war out in space. But the spaceships that are battling are controlled by people with chips in their head. Only teenagers have chips in their head because it's only teenagers' brains that can adapt to having chips in their head. But these chips in their head also mean that it's possible for them to be hacked and their perception to be altered, and the school does use this perception altering as part of their training. They're learning to hack each other and infect each other with viruses. Sometimes that's a lot of fun, other times it's not. There's also a really strong theme of friendship, and I did really enjoy the first two books in the series, even though sometimes it's a little bit too much teenage boy in the series for me. And I have in general been trying to read less YA, but this is a series I've been enjoying, so I'm looking forward to continuing it. Which means we just need to pick one more book off the TBR cat, so let's see if the next prompt will help us. Read a book written for a middle grade audience. I want to pick another Skullduggery Pleasant book, but I actually think they're YA. Although, look at that line spacing. That feels middle grade. Oh, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It just says it's a children's book, but like, I think in the UK, children's book can sometimes mean YA still. I mean, really, what is middle grade and YA? It's all rubbish. Should I just cheat? Okay, it says for like 11 plus, which is borderline middle grade YA, but I think it's more middle grade. Anyway, I'm going to count it. I don't even know which one is the second book. I think it's this one, Playing with Fire. Hopefully this double spacing will mean it's a lot easier to read. And hopefully I'll like the first one, otherwise that's probably going to be annoying. Okay, so I think all of these are actually YA middle grade type books, so hopefully that means they'll be easier to get through. I do also have, this book. It's A Child of Flame by Kate Elliott. I started reading this one in September as well, and I am like 150 pages through, and it's like 850 pages, so not really that far. I've set myself the goal of just finishing this year. It's like an epic fantasy with all sorts of different characters involved in this cataclysmic event that's kind of coming, or being prophesized at least. And in this book we are learning a lot more about that. So I'm excited to read that. But if I tried to finish that in November, which, I mean, December's not a great reading month, so I probably should try to finish it in November, so that would be this many books to read. But then I do think that I have a few audiobooks that I do need to read, so let's just have a check. Alright, so I do have 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This is like the beginning of magical realism, or so I've been told. I don't really know much about it. I think it is quite abstract, so I'm a little bit scared that it's going to be too smart for me. But I do have the audiobook for that. I was going to try and read it in October, but given that it's already the 27th when I'm filming this, I suspect I'm not going to make it because I already have 2 or 3 other audiobooks that I want to read by the end of the month. I feel like the maths on that is completely wrong, but we're going to ignore that. Then I do actually have a couple of books that I want to read for movie, TV watching purposes. So I've got the audiobook of June coming through. We're in lockdown now, so if I could read that before the movie theaters reopen, then I suspect I could go and watch it at the movie theaters, even if it's a little bit of time after now. And so normally I would miss it. I actually miss a lot of movies in movie theaters that I want to watch because by the time I organize myself enough to go and watch them, they've stopped showing. Probably because I prioritize book reading over movie watching. But I would like to see the June movie, and I would also like to listen to the book beforehand. The other thing that I know is coming up is the Wheel of Time TV series. I think it's Amazon Prime, is that right? Anyway, I have read the first book, The Eye of the World, but I've heard that to be safe for going into this first season of the show, you really should have read the first 2 books. So I want to listen to the audiobook of The Great Hunt as well. All I really know about these is general hype. June is some kind of apocalyptic science fiction type thing, and The Wheel of Time is this big epic fantasy. Honestly, the first book was just a lot of setup, so I'm really interested to see where the second book will take it, hopefully somewhere. And I do also have one ebook hold that I think will come through, and that is A Psalm for the Wild Built. That is a really weird title, and I don't really know what it's about, but I've been told that I will like it, so I'm going to try it. So that's going to be my TBR for November. Do let me know if you've read any of these books, whether you think I'm going to like them, or whether you liked them. Or otherwise, check back in at the end of the month when I wrap all of these books up and tell you my thoughts about them. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you next time.